Angelia's hand wouldn't stop shaking over her stomach. She stood in Min's private bathroom on the 50th floor, the cobalt blue dress that used to hang loose, now clinging to curves that hadn't existed 3 months ago. The imported soap, sandalwood and black tea couldn't mask the ginger she'd been chewing all morning to keep the nausea at bay. Recessed lighting made her brown skin look washed out, highlighting the exhaustion she'd been hiding behind concealer and 12-hour workdays. Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows, each drop a countdown. 3 years of being invisible, she thought, smoothing the fabric one more time. 3 years of being his shadow, and one secret makes me exposed. The door opened without warning. Min filled the frame, 6'2" of lethal precision in a black suit that probably cost what she made in 6 weeks. His jaw was locked in that way that meant someone's world was about to shatter. Usually, it wasn't hers. Their eyes met in the mirror. His gaze dropped to her hand, still resting protectively over her abdomen. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. "The merger documents need—" she started, her executive assistant voice steady and professional. "Stop." 2 words, cold as winter in Seoul. Angelia's breath caught. "Sir, your hand." Min's accent thickened the way it always did when he was barely holding control. "You've been protecting your stomach for 3 days. The ginger, the nausea, the way you flinch when I come too close." She could have denied it, should have created distance. Instead, something desperate and exhausted made her meet his eyes directly in the mirror. Let him see the truth she'd been drowning in. Min's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered in his dark eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet enough to be a threat. "Who got you pregnant?" But before we dive into how Angelia ended up carrying the heir to a Korean Mafia empire, I'd love to know, are you team tell him the truth or team protect the secret at all costs? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know what city you're watching from. If you're ready for 8 twists that'll leave you speechless, hit that subscribe button because this story's about to get dangerous. The question hung between them like a loaded gun. Angelia's pulse hammered in her ears, drowning out the rain still battering the windows. Min hadn't moved, but his presence filled the bathroom, sucking all the oxygen from the space. His eyes were black fire, burning through every defense she'd built over 3 years of professional distance. "I asked you a question." His voice dropped lower, each word deliberate. "Who got you pregnant?" Angelia's mind spun through options like shuffling cards, each one leading to disaster. The truth would destroy them both, the elders, the blood law, the ancient rules that had kept his family in power for generations. She'd spent 3 months researching, digging through encrypted files and forgotten records. She knew exactly what happened to outsiders who carried Mafia heirs. She'd seen the photographs, the unmarked graves, so she did the only thing that might buy them time. She lied. Julian Vance. The name tasted like poison on her tongue. Min went absolutely still, the kind of stillness that preceded violence. His hands, which had been clenched at his sides, slowly uncurled. When he spoke, his voice was soft, deadly soft. "The district attorney?" Not a question, a confirmation of betrayal. "Yes." Angelia forced herself to hold his gaze, even as everything inside her screamed to run. Julian Vance, the man currently building a RICO case against Min's family. The man she'd been carefully feeding false documents to for months, leading him away from the real evidence, protecting Min from shadows he didn't even know existed. Min moved so fast, she didn't have time to react. One moment he was by the door, the next he had her backed against the marble counter, his hands braced on either side of her, caging her in. The heat of his body radiated through the expensive fabric of his suit. She could smell his cologne, cedar, and something darker mixed with the rain he'd walked through to get here. "You're lying." His breath was warm against her temple. "I'm not." Her voice shook despite her best efforts. "Look at me, Angelia." His hand came up, fingers gentle under her chin, tilting her face toward his. The tenderness of the gesture contradicted the fury in his eyes. "Look at me and lie to me again." She met his gaze, held it, let him see whatever he needed to see. "Julian Vance is the father of my child." Something fractured in his expression. Pain, raw and visceral, before the mask slammed back into place. He stepped back abruptly, leaving her cold where his heat had been. "Get out." 2 words, final as a death sentence. Angelia grabbed her purse from the counter, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. She made it to the door before his voice stopped her. "Angelia!" She paused, didn't turn around. "If that child is Vance's, you've just signed its death warrant. The moment the elders find out my assistant is carrying the DA's baby, they'll eliminate all 3 of you as a liability." Her blood turned to ice. "What?" "You heard me. Go to Vance. Tell him to put you in witness protection tonight." He turned away, staring out at the storm-darkened city. "Because if I see you here tomorrow, I'll know you're lying. And then we'll have a very different conversation." Angelia made it to her car before the tears came. Great, shaking sobs that felt like they'd tear her apart from the inside. She'd just lied to the only man she'd ever loved, called another man the father of his child, and potentially sealed all their fates in the process. The steering wheel was cold under her forehead as she tried to breathe through the panic. Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Stay in your car. Lock the doors. I'm coming to you." Before she could process the message, a figure materialized from the shadows of the parking garage. Tall, lean, moving with the same predatory grace as Min. But when he stepped into the light, Angelia's heart stopped. The face was different. Sharper angles, a scar cutting through his left eyebrow, but the eyes were identical. Dark, calculating, dangerous. He tapped on her window, against every instinct screaming at her to drive away. She unlocked the door. He slid into the passenger seat, bringing the smell of rain and cigarette smoke with him. "You told him about Vance?" Not a question. "Stupid, but clever." Who are you?" But she already knew. She'd seen the photographs, the death certificates, the memorial service Min had attended alone 5 years ago. "Minjun." He pulled out a cigarette, didn't light it. "The brother who was supposed to be dead, and you're Angelia. The woman carrying my nephew." The world tilted. "How do you—" "I've been watching you for 3 months, ever since you started showing." He turned to face her, and the resemblance to Min was startling. "I'm the one who left the prenatal vitamins in your apartment, the iron supplements, the ginger tea." Angelia's hand flew to her stomach. "You've been in my apartment?" "I've been keeping you alive." His voice was matter of fact. "The elders have had surveillance on you since week 8. "They know you're pregnant. They don't know the father? Yet." "Why would they watch me?" Min Jun's laugh was bitter. "Because 3 years ago, my brother stopped sleeping with the women they sent him, stopped attending the matchmaking dinners, started working late with his beautiful black assistant." He finally lit the cigarette, cracking the window. "They've been waiting for this, for him to break the blood law." "The what?" "The law that got my father killed." He exhaled smoke into the rain. "The law that says any child born outside the approved bloodline is a threat to the succession. The law that will get you, that baby, and my brother executed if the elders confirm he's the father." Angelia's vision swam. "But you said they don't know. They don't know yet, but they will." Min Jun turned to her, and his expression was almost gentle. Unless you disappear. Tonight, I have a safe house in Portland. Cash, new identity. You can raise that baby far away from this mess. I can't just leave. You can, and you will. He pulled out an envelope, thick with documents. Or you can stay and watch my brother choose between his throne and his child. And we both know which one the elders will make him choose. Angelia didn't go to Portland. She went back to her apartment, double-locked the door, and started pulling up every encrypted file she'd hidden over the past 3 years. If the blood law was real, if Min's father had been killed for it, there would be evidence. There always was. She found it at 2 a.m., buried in old financial records from 1997. Lee Sang-ho, cause of death, cardiac arrest. Actual cause, potassium chloride injection. Untraceable, administered by family physician. Reason, violation of blood law. Article 3, conception of heir with unauthorized outsider. The outsider's name was redacted, but the child's wasn't. A daughter, born in Seattle, disappeared from all records at age 2. Angelia was staring at the screen when her apartment door opened. She hadn't heard the lockpick, hadn't heard the footsteps. Min stood in her living room, still in the black suit from earlier, looking like vengeance personified. You didn't go to Vance. His voice was flat, empty. No. You didn't go to witness protection. No. He moved through her space like he owned it, taking in the laptop, the files spread across her coffee table, the evidence she'd been compiling. When he saw his father's death certificate on the screen, he went very still. How long have you known? His question was quiet. About the blood law. 3 hours. About your father? Angelia stood facing him across the small living room. Since the night I agreed to work for you, I wanted to know what kind of man I was working for, so I dug. And I found the truth about how your father really died. And you stayed anyway. Something flickered in his expression. Confusion, hope, anger. I stayed because I realized you didn't know. She took a step toward him. You thought he died of a heart attack. You mourned him. You built your entire life around honoring a man who was murdered by his own people. And I thought, her voice cracked, I thought maybe you were different. Maybe you could change things. Min closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands came up to frame her face. Thumbs brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. The baby. His voice was raw. Is it mine? Angelia nodded, unable to speak. That night in Sausalito, the hotel. His forehead dropped to hers. I thought I dreamed it. I woke up alone and you never said anything. 3 months of silence. You don't remember. It wasn't a question. I remember everything. His words were fierce. I remember your skin against mine. The way you said my name, the way you looked at me like I was something other than a monster. I remember all of it, Angelia. I just thought you regretted it. Someone drugged you that night. She pulled back to look at him. Your whiskey. I saw it happen. I took you to that hotel to keep you safe, and then... She couldn't finish. Then we made a choice. His hands slid down to her stomach, covering where their child was growing. And now the elders will kill us for it unless we're smarter than they are. Min sat at her kitchen table, studying the files she'd compiled with an expression that shifted between admiration and fury. Angelia watched him from the counter, a mug of ginger tea warming her hands, waiting for the explosion that never came. You're not just an assistant. He looked up, dark eyes unreadable. You're a forensic accountant, Columbia, top of your class. You could have worked anywhere, and you chose my organization. I chose revenge. No point in lying now. Your family stole my family's tech patents. in 1994, security software, the foundation of your entire legitimate empire. My father died thinking he was a failure. My mother raised me alone, working 3 jobs, while your family became billionaires off his invention. Min's jaw tightened, but he didn't defend himself, didn't make excuses. I spent 5 years tracking the money, building the case. I have enough evidence to bankrupt your entire syndicate, seize every asset, destroy the Elders' power base completely. She set down her mug, crossed the small space to stand in front of him. I came to destroy you, Min, and then I fell in love with you instead. He stood slowly, the chair scraping against linoleum. You love me? Yes. The word felt like jumping off a cliff. I love you. I love the man who stays late to make sure every employee gets their bonus. The man who funds 3 women's shelters anonymously. The man who learned Spanish to talk to the cleaning crew because no one else would. She touched his face. Traced the dragon ink that wound up his neck. I love the man you are despite everything your family made you. His kiss was desperate, hungry, hands tangling in her hair, pulling her close, careful of her stomach, even in his urgency. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. The evidence, his voice was rough. The patents, you could take everything. I know. Why haven't you? Angelia pulled out a flash drive from her pocket. Small, unassuming, worth hundreds of millions in stolen assets. Because I realized something. The Elders are the disease. You're just the symptom. If I destroy your family's wealth, someone worse takes over. The territory doesn't disappear. The violence doesn't stop. It just changes hands. She pressed the drive into his palm. But if we're smart, if we use this evidence strategically, we can destroy them from the inside, bankrupt the old guard, transfer the assets into something legitimate, something our child can inherit without blood on their hands. Min stared at the drive like it was a live grenade. You're trusting me with this? I'm trusting us with this. She covered his hand with hers. Your brother said the Elders will make you choose between your throne and your child. So let's make sure there's no throne left to choose. His smile was slow, dangerous, beautiful. You're terrifying, Angelia. Good. She smiled back. Because we're about to go to war with the most dangerous crime family on the West Coast. Terrifying is what we need. Outside, the San Francisco fog rolled in, obscuring the city lights. Inside, 2 people who should have been enemies began planning the downfall of an empire. Are you team destroy the Elders or team run and never look back? Drop your choice in the comments below and let me know what city you're watching from, because this war is just beginning. If you're ready to see Min and Angelia burn the old world down, hit that subscribe button and buckle up. These next 3 chapters are about to get absolutely ruthless. The underground clinic smelled like antiseptic and secrets. Min kept his hand on the small of Angelia's back as they descended the stairs beneath a Chinatown herbalist shop, past the legitimate business, into the shadow world where gunshot wounds went unreported and pregnancies stayed off the grid. The doctor, an elderly woman named Dr. Yoon, had been with the family for 40 years. She'd delivered Min, stitched his father after assassination attempts, kept more secrets than the confessional at St. Mary's Cathedral. She's 14 weeks, Dr. Yoon said, her gloved hands gentle on Angelia's stomach as the ultrasound wand moved across her skin. The monitor showed a blur of grey and white, then suddenly, impossibly, a heartbeat, fast and strong. Healthy, no complications. Angelia's eyes were fixed on the screen, wonder and fear warring across her face. Min stood beside the examination table, his hand finding hers, fingers intertwining. For a moment, the war they were planning faded. There was only this tiny life they'd created in a moment of weakness, that had become the strongest thing either of them had ever done. Dr. Yoon cleaned the gel away, her movements efficient. "I'll get you the prenatal vitamins, the good ones, imported from Switzerland. Better than what your brother has been giving you." Angelia's head snapped toward the doctor. "What did you say?" The elderly woman froze, realizing her mistake. Min's hand tightened on Angelia's. "What vitamins from my brother?" Dr. Yoon's composure cracked. "Min Jun, he came to me 6 weeks ago, asked me to compound special vitamins for a pregnant woman. I assumed he was helping you protect—" She stopped, understanding dawning in her ancient eyes. "You didn't know." "What was in them?" Min's voice was deadly calm. The doctor moved to her locked cabinet, pulled out a bottle, handed it to Min with shaking hands. He read the label, his face going ashen. When he looked up, murder lived in his eyes. Mifepristone, low dose. Designed to cause miscarriage over time while looking like natural pregnancy complications. He turned to Angelia. "The tea, the supplements, everything my brother gave you was poison." The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Angelia's hand went to her stomach, protective and desperate. "But the baby's okay. Dr. Yoon said—" "You haven't been taking them." Min's eyes were on her, intense. "Have you?" Angelia's mind raced back. "No, they made me nauseous. I threw them away after the first few days, started buying my own prenatal vitamins from the pharmacy." The relief that crashed over Min's face was visceral. He pulled her up from the table, into his arms, holding her like she might disappear. "You saved our child without even knowing it." Why would he do this? But even as Angelia asked, the pieces clicked into place. "The succession. If you have no heir, then the throne passes to the next male bloodline, my brother." Min's voice was hollow. "He's not protecting us. He's eliminating competition. A dead man can't have his legacy erased if the legacy never exists." Dr. Yoon spoke carefully. "The elders know about the pregnancy. They sent me a message 3 days ago. They want confirmation of paternity. They want me to bring them proof, or they'll bring in their own doctor." "When?" Min's hand was already on his phone. "Tomorrow, noon, at the estate." The doctor's eyes were sad. "I'm sorry, Min. I've known you since you were born, but they own me just like they own everyone else." Min looked at Angelia. "We move tonight. Everything we planned, we accelerate. No more waiting." They didn't go back to Angelia's apartment. Min drove them to his private safe house in Pacific Heights, a Victorian mansion hidden behind iron gates and ghost stories. Inside, the walls were lined with filing cabinets, evidence, decades of it, his father's real legacy, hidden from the elders who'd killed him. Angelia was exhausted, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. Min guided her to the leather couch, disappeared into the kitchen, returned with ginger tea and crackers. The domesticity of it, this dangerous man caring for her, made her chest ache. "Rest." He brushed her hair back from her face. "I need to make calls, start moving pieces." But Angelia's eyes had caught on something, a filing cabinet in the corner, marked with a date. 1994, the year her father's patents were stolen. She stood, crossed to it on unsteady legs. "Angelia, you need to—" She pulled the drawer open. Inside were folders, dozens of them, but one caught her attention. A photograph paper-clipped to the front. A woman, black, beautiful, standing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge with a briefcase and a brilliant smile. The world tilted. "That's my mother." Min was beside her instantly. "What?" "This is my mother, Diane Richardson. She—" Angelia's voice broke. "She disappeared when I was 10. Police said she ran away, left us. But she would never—" Her hands shook as she opened the folder. Inside was a life she'd never known. Her mother, not as a struggling single parent, but as the founder of the San Francisco branch of the Korean syndicate's operations. Her mother in photographs with Min's father. Her mother signing contracts, building an empire. The final document made Angelia's knees buckle. Min caught her, held her up as she read. Partnership agreement. Lee Sang-ho and Diane Richardson. 50-50. Ownership of all West Coast operations. February 1994. She wasn't a victim. Angelia's whisper was broken. She was a founder. She built this with your father. And then Min was reading over her shoulder. Then my uncle had her killed. There. The transfer of shares March 1994, signed by her, but the handwriting analysis note says it's forged. He took her half of the empire and erased her from existence. The patents, my father's software. Angelia was crying now, silent tears streaming down her brown skin. She didn't steal them. She was using them to build something, to build a future for us, and your uncle murdered her for it. Min's arms came around her from behind, his chin resting on top of her head. You're not just carrying my heir, Angelia. You're the rightful owner of half of everything the syndicate has. The territory I'm sitting on, it's yours. It was always yours. The weight of it crashed over her. Your uncle? Is he? He's one of the elders, the head of them, actually. Lee Tae-won. Min's voice was ice. He killed your mother. He killed my father. He's been orchestrating this entire empire on stolen blood. He turned her to face him, his hands framing her face. And tomorrow, we're going to take it all back. The estate was a fortress. Stone walls, armed guards, surveillance that could track a mosquito. The elders gathered in the main hall, 7 men who'd built their power on graves and silence. At the head of the table sat Lee Tae-won, Min's uncle, silver-haired and smiling like a shark. You're getting married today. Not a request, a command. The Choi family's daughter, So-yeon, she'll cleanse your bloodline and give you legitimate heirs. Min stood before them, immaculate in a black suit, every inch the obedient heir. As you wish, uncle. And the assistant, the pregnant one? Another elder, younger, hungry. What about that problem? Dr. Yoon confirmed the paternity this morning. Min's voice was flat. The child is Julian Vance's, the district attorney. I've already removed her from the organization. She's no longer a threat. Lies, all lies, but the elders believed them because they wanted to, because a bastard heir was easier to dismiss if it belonged to an outsider. The wedding was set for sunset. An hour away, Min was escorted to a preparation room, the door locked behind him. He pulled out his phone. One message to Angelia, one word, now. Across the city, in a hotel suite with a view of the bay, Angelia was anything but alone. So-yeon Choi sat across from her, not an enemy, but an ally. The woman who was supposed to marry Min was instead helping orchestrate his salvation. The accounts are ready? So-yeon's English was perfect. Her business degree from Harvard, evident in every calculated move. Transferred, all of them. Angelia pulled up the laptop screen. Every elder's personal holdings, every illegal account, every shadow corporation, it's all been moved into a trust, accessible only by your biometric signature. So-yeon smiled. And mine, and Min's, the 3 of us hold the keys to the kingdom now. They just don't know it yet. When they find out, they'll try to kill us all, which is why we need them arrested first. So-yeon checked her watch. Julian Vance and his federal task force are positioned outside the estate. The moment you trigger the signal, they move in. Angelia's hand hovered over her phone. Are you sure you want to do this? You'll lose your family, your name, everything. So-yeon's eyes were hard. My family sold me to those monsters when I was 16, told me I should be grateful to be chosen. I've been planning this destruction for 8 years. She leaned forward. Min didn't choose me because I was obedient. He chose me because I'm exactly like you. I want to watch them burn. Angelia pressed the button. Across the city, a signal went out. Federal agents moved. Search warrants were executed. And at the estate, as Min stood at an altar he never wanted, the doors burst open. The arrest happened fast. Julian Vance, flanked by FBI agents, reading rights to men who thought they were untouchable. The elders, scrambling for lawyers who couldn't help them. Evidence, mountains of it, financial records, murder contracts, 40 years of crimes, all documented, all undeniable. Lee Tae-won's face when he saw Angelia walk through the door was almost worth the years of pain, almost worth her mother's death, almost. You. The word was poison. Me! Angelia stopped in front of him, her hand resting on her stomach. Diane Richardson's daughter, the woman you murdered, the empire you stole. I am here to take it all back. You have no proof? I have all the proof. Angelia pulled out a document. Her mother's original partnership agreement, authenticated, notarized, legal. 50% of everything you've built belongs to me, and the other 50% belongs to the Lee family. Not you, not the elders, Minja, the rightful heir. Min appeared at her side, his hand finding hers. United front. You're done, Uncle. The syndicate is over. The criminal empire ends today. You think the law will protect you? Tae-won's laugh was bitter. You think you can just walk away? No. So-yan stepped forward, elegant and deadly. We think we can build something better. The real estate, the tech patents, the legitimate businesses you've been hiding behind. We're taking all of it and creating an empire that doesn't require blood to sustain it. Julian Vance finished the handcuffs, his eyes on Angelia with something like respect. Ms. Richardson, you kept your end of the bargain. The evidence you provided will put these men away for life. And my mother's murder? Angelia's voice was steady despite the tears. We found the contract, the payment, the forged documents. Lee Tae-won will stand trial for Diane Richardson's assassination. Julian nodded to Min. You're clean. The deal holds. Immunity for cooperation. The federal agents led the elders away in chains. One by one, the old guard fell, and in the ruins of their empire, 3 people stood victorious: Min, Angelia, and So-yan. The future built on the ashes of the past. 6 months later, the baby was born, a daughter. They named her Diane after the grandmother she'd never meet. Min held her in the early morning light of their home, overlooking the Pacific. No longer a penthouse fortress, but a real home with warmth and light and hope. Angelia watched from the doorway, still healing, but stronger than she'd ever been. So-yan had moved into the guest house, her own empire of legitimate tech companies rising. Together, the 3 of them had transformed blood money into something clean, something their children could inherit with pride. Min looked up, his eyes finding Angelia's. She has your eyes. And your stubborn chin. Angelia crossed to them, kissed her daughter's forehead. She's going to be unstoppable. Like her mother! Min's arm came around her waist, pulling her close. Like all the women who refused to stay in the shadows. The doorbell rang. Angelia's smile faded. We're not expecting anyone. So-yan appeared in the doorway, her face grim. She held an envelope, black, expensive, delivered by courier. Inside was a single photograph, baby Diane, taken from a distance through a long-range lens, and beneath it, a note in Korean. Min translated, his voice hollow. She has the royal blood, the true succession. We are coming to collect what was stolen. Angelia took the note, read it again. Not a threat, a declaration of war, Somewhere in Seoul, the old families were watching, waiting, plotting their return. She looked at Min, at their daughter, sleeping peacefully in his arms, at So-yan, standing guard like the warrior she'd become. They'd destroyed one empire, but empires had a way of rising from ash. Min's smile was slow, dark, dangerous, the predator returning. Let them come? He looked at Angelia, and in his eyes was promise and protection and lethal devotion. They think they're hunting us, but they're about to learn what happens when you threaten our family. Angelia crossed to the window, looked out at the city they'd conquered, the empire they'd rebuilt, the future they'd created from blood and secret, and a love that refused to die. Let them come, she echoed. We'll be ready. The war was over, but the reign had just begun, and this time the monsters wore different faces. This time the queen was a black woman who'd taken back her crown. This time the ending wasn't written by old men in shadows. This time they would write their own story, together. So what do you think happens next? Does Min's family in Seoul stand a chance against Angelia, or is she about to show them exactly who Diane Richardson's daughter really is? Drop your predictions in the comments and let me know what city you're watching from. If you're ready to see Angelia's next chapter because you know this story isn't over, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The empire might have changed hands, but the real battle is just beginning. See you in the next one.